Welcome back. So I used the Epic Launcher to add the Paragon, Agora, and Monolith pack to this project. And so it added a couple things. It added this kite demo folder. It's not all the kite demo assets, it's just a few. It added this lighting folder. I don't see anything useful there. It added this Paragon props folder. There's a ton of stuff in there. This thing was like 17 gigabytes. And it added this sample map folder. I don't know if there's going to be anything we need in there. But we do need some of this stuff from the kite demo, and unfortunately the kite demo stuff has not been upgraded to 4.20 yet. So again, I do have a zip file for you guys. A few things I had to go extract and convert. Landscape textures here. So we're actually going to start out with this. You can find the link to download this in the text of the YouTube video. And we are going to grab these, copy, go into here, content, kite demo, environment, ground tiles, grass. They should have been in here, but they're not. We're going to paste those in there. So that's step one, and make sure that you added the Paragon, Agora, and Monolith pack to your project. And now we're ready to go. We are going to build out a sweet landscape texture. We are going to use material functions for our layers, and we've made this material folder here, so let's do all the work here. So we're going to create a new function. Let's see, materials, material function, and I like to do MF, and we'll call this grass. And that's fine. Gives us a warning because we don't have a make attributes. So grab this make material attributes and hook it up, and we're ready to start working. Now, to save some time here, and because I like the base that this gives us, we're going to go into kite demo, ground tiles, grass, and you see this M ground grass 2. We're going to just grab all this. Make sure you've got it all selected, everything except, if you don't want to grab that, the output. And we're going to hit Control C. We're going to come over here, and we're going to paste it. And we'll have to do some changes here and some tweaks, but this will get us started down the right path, and we won't have to spend a ton of time getting this all set up. So let's take a look at what we need to change here. Some are going to be tweaks later, but we'll start here just hooking up some of these. Specular, this one here goes to the normal. And the output from here, this has something in the alpha channel. It's got the roughness stored in it. And so we're going to grab that to the roughness. And that should get us a basic setup. We're going to need to do some tweaks later on some of these colors here to get it to look right. Otherwise, I was kind of unhappy with how it blended with the grass. So, but that'll get us started. And so now we can close this. We don't need this anymore. And we need to go back to materials. And we need to actually, we've got this M landscape, right? So let's open that up, and we don't want that anymore. But what we do want is we need to break the material attributes, because we're going to be using layers that already have material attributes all in one wire. So we need to break them, and we'll connect these across. And we're going to do a little trick on one of them here. You know what? Opacity mask we're actually going to want. So click on this, the output of M landscape. Come down here and change this to masked, and that'll give you this opacity mask. And we want the landscape visibility mask. This will allow you later. You can paint holes that you can use to create caves and stuff. So I really like that. So we'll get that set up right away. Okay, for this normal, we need to do a conversion. It's this transform normals tangent to vertex. we need to do a conversion on that. And I don't think we need any of this other stuff. I don't think we're using ambient occlusion or pixel depth offset. So we should be good there. Okay, so we've got that. And now we need to grab our grass. There we go. Got our grass, and to begin with, we're not going to do, we're going to add a height blend to get our cliffs and stuff, but let's just get this, loaded first. Now that was set up as the material on our landscape, so you can see it. Switch to it here, and you can see there's just some weird artifacts of these colors and stuff, but I'll show you how to fix that. But I want to take a look here and give you a little tutorial here on some of the settings here. So this landscape is the parent actor that it pulled in when we did our import tiled landscape. And one of the odd things here is it has a landscape material, but changing it here doesn't change it on all the tiles. I wish it did. It doesn't. That's why we made sure to set up this this temporary one so that it would set it. So these landscape streaming proxies, we have 9 of them. These are each one of the tiles. And so if you did need to change the landscape material, you need to change it here. And actually we're going to have to. Because I like to use material instances and not the material itself. So we're actually going to have to do that. Let's go do that right now. And I'll show you later why I'd like to do that. So we've got MI, landscape, and we will go change it on here. And as you can see, it doesn't do anything. Be nice if it did. So now we're going to go through 9 of these one at a time, swapping it out for the material instance. That's going to make it easier for us to change settings later. And this is a area where you will endlessly tweak. You will spend at least dozens of hours tweaking it to get the blend with the grass and everything just right. Okay, we're going to come in later here and fix some of this yuck and just this tiling and ugh. But I want to show something here that's pretty cool. And I want to show how we can have it auto-generate our grass for us. So let's go back into, actually we need to create the asset first. So let's come here into, I believe it's miscellaneous, landscape grass type. We'll do procedural grass. And we will add an element. We will open this up. We'll start with 400, and we're going to go here, and we're going to find the grass. This SM field grass 1 is pretty nice. Okay, this is the start and end distance on the grass of how far it's going to generate away from us. I'm running a 1080 GTX, so 10,000 is fine with me. If you're running an older piece of hardware, try setting this to 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, somewhere in there. You'll have to see how what it does for frame rate for you. I'm going to go in here, and I like to give a little bit of variation to my grass. So I'm just going to go, let's try from 0.8 all the way up to 2. And I think everything else will just keep the defaults. So now we're going to come back into this landscape. And we don't have, we're a little early in doing this because we don't have a blend to plug into this, but we have this landscape grass output. And so normally what we would do is we would grab our alpha from the blend, pull it over here, do a 1 minus x, and throw it into grass. But for now, we actually just want grass everywhere. So we're just going to grab a 1 constant. Basically, 1 is draw the most grass, 0 is draw no grass. And then we have to come in here and point that to that procedural grass asset. So we come in here, and we grab our procedural grass. And now it's going to start rendering our grass. And there's some cool things you could do. You can see it's doing our grass, and that's the distance away. That's 10,000. It's 100 meters. And you can see that just the blend is bad, and just it needs some work. But we are we are going to fix that. Okay. So, I should show you something else here real quick. So you can keep adding and stacking more grasses and other things that you want to generate. You can set different densities, do different jitter, different amounts that it renders away from you. You can set size ranges. We run 3 blends of grass together, and it really adds a lot having a mixture of grass. But for now, that's what we got. That's what we're going to use. And so now what we'd like to do is we'd like to fix this ugly white and get these to blend better. So we're going to come into our grass. Let's maximize this. And so one of the problems here that I found is that this here is just not getting colored. So it's very strange, but it's not getting colored. So we're going to copy this. And we're going to come over here and we're going to multiply. So pull this out. I hit the star key on the number pad. Gets me to multiply. We will multiply this here. Connect this over, and that'll help some. I'm actually going to go in here and pull some numbers because I spent about an hour getting some nice starter settings for us here. So I'm going to go and actually punch these in. So we've got 4, 5, 8, 3, 3, and finally 0.038646. And then for this one, we ended up going a little bit darker. 012408, 0.015625, 0.004141. And feel free to, oh, I got something wrong here. There was supposed to be a 0 in front of this one. That's more like the color I'm looking for. And you can have fun. You can have fun tweaking those. I also felt like changing this blend value here. Probably we should make this a parameter. We'll do that later. Felt like setting it to 5 was helpful there. And let's see, I felt like I did something down here. Nah, that was left the same. Oh, I probably changed this dead grass color. Yeah, I did. Let's punch those numbers in too. 0.541667, 0.482718, 0.200417. Okay, I think what we're going to find now is going to look a little bit better. Yeah, that's a little better. Let's drop into the world and see what it's like. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Okay, we really need some cliffs though, because that grass up there, ooh, yeah, gotta add some cliffs. So okay, cool. So we kind of got the basics of our grass going here, and we'll add some trees and rocks later. But let's get our cliffs. So we're going to need a new material function. Material function MF cliffs. And we'll do our make material attribute again. Okay, and let's get these cliffs going. Okay. So, for these cliffs, we need a world aligned texture complex. Yeah, it's a giant one there. And we're going to need a texture object. Oh, you know what? We got to go do something here real quick. So remember last time in the previous session, I had you have this let's make an MMO map tiles, and we put that in this map tile source. We've got these two assets here, ls dirt and rb ls dirt 01. We need to grab these. So let's copy those, and let's go in here, kite demo. We'll just drop them here in textures along with some cliff stuff. So let's put those in there because we're going to need those here. The first one we need is the ls dirt. This one here, ls dirt 01 disp alpha 3. We need that, and we're going to plug that into the diffuse texture. We now need input, function input, and it needs to be, let's see, macro scale, and it's going to be of type scalar, and we're going to plug that into texture size. We're going to need that because we're actually going to run 2 instances of this and do a nice camera blend. Okay, we need a static bool, and we're going to plug that one into use separate settings for Z projection, and we need another one down here in world space normals. Okay, we're copying this texture object, and we now need our cliff, and we need the one that has the word tile in it. Cliff rock tile 03D. That's the one we want. And we're going to plug that into the Z-plane diffuse texture. And then we need a final one down here, texture object, for our normal. And this is that ls dirt. ls dirt. And it's the 01N. And we're going to plug that into our normal texture. Okay, we need to pull our vertex normal, WS, and we're going to multiply it. And we need a scalar 3, vector 3, constant 3 vector, and we need 1, 1, 1. Multiply that, and then we're going to normalize this and plug it into our world space normal. Okay, over here need to do a few things. So I like to add some scalar parameters, and I want one here called cliff brightness. And we can actually put this in a cliff group, so they're all together, cliffs. And the brightness is going to just start out at 1, but we're going to multiply that by this XYZ diffuse texture, and we're going to put it in base color. We'll copy this scalar parameter, and I want to make one for specular. I like to have control over this one. We're going to start this thing with 0. Sometimes you use a really small number for that. We'll see. Okay, so we're going to pull off this XYZ texture. We're going to calculate out some roughness. So we're going to use a component mask, and we're going to only use R. And I need a little bit more space to work here. And we're going to do a lerp. So linear interpolate uses the alpha to go between A and B. We'll use that to lerp between 2 values. This is going to be cliff R min and cliff R max. We're going to lerp between those 2 values, and we're going to do max is going to be 1, And we'll set the minimum to 0.7. And then we're going to plug that into the roughness. We're going to take our normal XYZ texture here and plug it into normal. And we also need to create an output normal. So function output normal. I'll show you where we're going to need this later. We're going to take that XYZ texture and plug it into the output normal. And then we are done with our cliffs. So let's come back over to our landscape here. Let's drag in our cliffs. You see, it's got that normal output there. And we're going to come back over here. And now we need to disconnect this. And we need to do a matte layer blend. And we just need a standard one. Standard's fine. And so we'll plug in the grass as the base texture. Get this plugged in over here. And we'll pull our cliffs over here. Because the first thing we want to do is we want to do a height lerp. So we'll have our height lerp. We're going to take the alpha of that and plug it into there. That's fine. So this is the spot where I said we were going to change how the grass worked. We're actually going to take our alpha out of here, do a 1 minus x. This will get the inverse, because otherwise it would have been the cliff, and we don't want to put the grass on the cliff, so let's put the grass where there's not a cliff. And, okay, so we're going to come over here. We're going to do a lerp, linear interpolate. Lerp's short for it. And we'll plug that into the height texture. And we're going to want to set up, some parameters here. Scalar parameter. And we'll call this grass contrast. So let us set our contrast. We'll set the default to 10, I think. We'll probably have to play with these. And we'll plug that into the contrast here. And then we're going to say, we're going to add 2 more here. And we're going to have world blend min and world blend max. This is another reason that we use a material instance. It's going to let us modify these at will without having to recompile every time, which is a real pain because if you have a slow computer, compiling shaders is not fun. Okay, we're going to use a constant bias scale. Plug into the alpha here. Yes, I know. We're going to fix it. And let's see. I'm going to use a dot product. And normalize. Transform vector. Another constant 3 vector, and we want this one to point up, 0, 0, 1. And this is going to get plugged right into this dot product here, and there's also going to be a lerp. Linear interpolates are very useful in materials. Lets us blend nicely, and we'll plug this into here. Another normalize. Parameter. We will call this blend normal. And I guess we'll start it at 0. Okay. So that can now get connected into there. Yeah, we know. Because we got to go start working on our cliffs. So let's pull our cliffs over here. Okay. And we need a material layer blend, but we want the separate normal and color clamps. So we'll pull that here, and we're going to take the output of that blended material all the way over to top material. And we're going to have this MF clips, and we're going to need it twice. Okay. And we'll take the result of this one and put it in the top material. Yeah. That's fine. Solder this one to the base material. And we're going to need a camera depth fade as our alpha. So what's going to happen here is that as we move further away, we're going to use cliffs at a scale where they're much bigger textures. And then as we get closer, so that don't have giant pixels, we're going to basically depth fade into a closer cliff. Okay, and so you can hold down the 1 key and click. You can do the same thing with the 3. Hold down the 3 and click. You can get those constants real nice. It's just a fun little trick there. Save some time. Put that in the fade offset. And we're going to go copy another one of these scalar parameters. And we're going to call this cliffs mid-length. And we're going to put that in here. And so then we're going to need 2 more here. So this is going to be the cliffs near scale. Okay, and we're going to start with 500. These are actually, these are texture size numbers, so they're actually the opposite of UV multipliers. So bigger is actually bigger rather than the reverse. And I don't know, let's try this one at 1,000. We'll probably override these. Okay, and there's one more thing we're missing here. We've got this normal, and we've got to connect this. That's the one we're going to use for our blend. Okay. So now let's see what happens. Excuse me. Interesting. Okay. It's not needs some tweaking. Needs some tweaking. So let's open up this MI landscape, and this is where we can do our tweaking. And let's talk about some of these settings. So we've got this blend normal, and what that ends up doing, you may or may not like it, but it actually can put grass onto sections of the rock texture here that are pointing up in the normal. They don't actually have geometry, they just are pointing up. So that's an interesting effect. Whether it looks good or not, it kind of depends. We'll turn a little bit on. Actually, we'll turn it way on, and I can show you what it does. See? So it's putting that green. And if we go to 0, see, it goes away. Anyway, you can play around with that number. The mid-length here. Oh, we forgot to rename that one. We're going to go fix that. But this mid-length probably needs to be about 15,000. This was actually the mid-scale. And we're going to start that at 10,000. The near scale at 500 is fine. The grass contrast here. Okay. World blend max. How about -2? And this grass contrast. Let's set that to 1. See, now we didn't have to recompile. It's not terrible. So we're getting, you see how as we zoom out, find a nice big flat area here. So you see it's got a nice large texture, but as we move in, look at that. We use that camera depth fade to make a nice transition. Let's hit play and see what this looks like. you know, it's interesting. You can play around with it. You can drop some actual rocks, mix some rocks in with the cliffs and stuff, and that'll add some nice stuff here. But let's add a little bit of foliage. So let's come back here, and we're going to open the foliage tool, and we're going to grab some of the trees that I like. So if you come into Kite Demo, Environment, Trees, I like this Hill Tree 02, and we'll let it create that. And I like this Scots Pine 01, create that. I really like this Scots Pine Tall 01, one of my favorites. So gotta grab the mesh, and put the single instance mode, and we're gonna come in here, uncheck them, and we're gonna tweak these settings. So we're gonna do single instance right now, so we don't care about the painting settings, but we are gonna come in here and say that we want a range. So we're gonna say, I don't know, maybe 8 to like 1.4, so they won't all be exactly the same height. And we're gonna come down here, and we gotta turn on this effect distance field. This is very important. Gotta turn that on or it's gonna look terrible, and we don't want trees we can walk through. So we're gonna do that, and we'll save those assets. Come here, we're gonna do the same thing again. Block all, distance field, and we'll give it a range of maybe something like that. And same thing here. Gotta be careful you don't scale too far, it might start to look weird. And distance field, and we're going to block all. Okay, so we're gonna come in here, and we're gonna grab this one. We're kind of in our starting area. It's actually using the normal rather than them pointing up. It's using the normal. We can change that if we wanted to. That's this setting here, aligned to normal. So if we want it to always just point up, we can do that. And then it won't matter if we're on the side of a hill, it's still going to point up. Sometimes trees that don't point up look weird, so we'll drop a few of these around. And we'll drop some of these. Mix some of these in. Get a little mini forest going here. Oh, those are still this is still doing. Let's go turn that off over here too. Nope, we do not want to match the normal. There we go. Now they can stay straight. And we got a little mini forest going here. And we'll drop into our world. And there we go. And you can do a better job of laying these out than what I did. I'm gonna hit F11 to make it full screen. But it doesn't look terrible. It's definitely a good start. We can work with this. It's a good start. Anyway, that's going to conclude this session, and so let me know if you have any questions, and let me know if you guys are following along with this, and if you're able to follow everything. So have a good night.